have with us Mr. Sudhakar Rao, Director, ICFAI Group of Educational Institutes. Welcome, sir, to BW Education event. Thank you. I would like to know from you some of the issues pertaining to school education to begin with. What would you say really ails education in terms of imparting of instructions? We had a very wonderful keynote address with you in which you discussed the fear psychosis in teaching of STEMs courses. If you can elaborate on that.
What ails our school education is a very important and pertinent question that we need to deal with now. I think there are a couple of factors. One is the teaching learning process has to undergo a huge change in terms of creating fun for learning, in terms of adding gamification, using board games, using methods that have, for example, dilemma setting, solving a problem, people and students going over a small kind of a issue and trying to solve that thing. So when they solve that issue, they feel achieved, and that sense of achievement will fuel further action, further course of learning. So if we create and input all these factors into learning, and not just the theories, not just the lessons, not just sit down kind of learning, but action learning in terms of actual problems, actual dilemmas, actual tough situations, and then they work on it and overcome. I think that should be the learning mode rather than the hundreds of years of learning that we have had in terms of chapter 1 to chapter 3 to chapter 4 to chapter 10. I think that's the fundamental shift first. Second, I was talking about the mathematics, because maths is fundamental to our thinking. Maths is fundamental to solving various other problems also. But at least appreciation of mathematics cannot be as bad as it is currently. The way it is currently so bad can be attributed to the fact that the way it is taught. The way it is taught is atrocious. It has to completely undergo a change. Fear psychosis is built because maths teachers are not good. Therefore, those teachers who have been teaching in a certain way, they are breeding certain other teachers in the same way. So I think together we have created a vicious cycle of maths teaching which is resulting in fear psychosis for 90% of the students. I think this is avoidable. Maths teaching has to be fun. Each concept has to be explained nicely with actual application, with actual gaming, with actual movements of hands, with actual diagrams. I think it can be done very well. I think people like Sonam Wangchuk and other inventors who have worked on education will have to be brought in to create a whole new world of how to teach mathematics. There are many people who know it, who can do it, but that should be accepted as a formal way of teaching in the schools. Then things will change. It may take a long time, but once maths is appreciated, we will become good data analysts. We will become good logical thinkers. We will be also good at riding the AI wave. So if there is a problem of not creating enough workforce for encashing the AI revolution, the problem actually lies with not teaching mathematics properly. And this is one of the ways to actually surmount that problem and solve it. That is one example which I give very constantly.
Would you say that before the technological intervention started in big way in schools, such enlightened teachers really were not there, because some of the schools still experimented even though they were not really mainstream? What would you say about that? And now with in current times, especially post COVID, how is technology changing that landscape?
I think post-COVID, the hybrid proportions have to be understood carefully. What is online portion and what is offline portion? I think the offline portion will have to be more of gamification and activities, experiential learning and action learning. Online is about theories and you confirm what you have learnt in action to find in theory. I think that's the proportion. 30% to 70% is what people are currently doing. We should reverse it. I think more we should do offline, especially in school education, and less online. Our drive to complete syllabus and portions is 70%, which should be reversed now. We should be left for them to read. If you say that you are going to give questions from what you read, they will be busy reading only that much. But if you give questions from the fact that you participated in an activity and the questions are around that, then they will focus more on activities. So this way, we would have changed the learning pattern and thinking pattern. That is one. Second, much before the technology has created this kind of impact. How were the teachers? The teachers were great storytellers. The teachers were inspiring feature personalities themselves. The teachers were empathetic. The teachers were focusing on personal development of the students. Now we don't find that happening. Although we say that for the sake of branding, for the sake of bragging rights, we say that. But then, how many students are remembered by their teachers today? During my time, the principal even comes home now after so many years of passing out of the school. So it's a matter of pride, it's a matter of connection that Indians should thrive on, and that we should never lose. Therefore, instead of being busy and chasing the syllabus to be completed, we should be spending time in knowing the student in the classroom. So make it 70%, and don't be driven and evaluated by the portions to be completed. But I think create deep connections with the students, each one of them, by the teacher. I think that's missing, and we need to go back and say that this country was always known for this. So we will resurrect it and we'll find ourselves back, especially when there is a threat of technology trying to take away the humans in us.
Finally, what would you advise to students how they can best, imbibe the learning, and what should be their approach inside the classroom and outside the classroom for the best learning experience?
I think the students are bright as it is. There's no problem. I think polishing a gem is the responsibility of the school and the teacher. But the students can do one or two things as well. The students will have to also slow down and pause and reflect. That they are not doing. Listening to elders is not happening. Reading the books is not happening. By reading a book, you actually slow down and introspect at one go. But we are not doing that. I think once we do that, it will be fine. Second, they should also look at activities that involve their original thinking, they involve their creative thinking, like games. Like games, and I say online and offline games, both. Games where there is some kind of an achievement in solving a problem. Quizzes, for example, not just the tests. Generally, what we use quiz as a word as alternative for test. No, as a quiz is a quiz which is full of fun. That sharpens our mind, inquisitiveness will go up and all. I think students should participate, meeting students of other schools and other colleges. I think that interaction is also not happening. Intercollegiates and inter-schools have to happen. Those activities of sports connect will have to happen. Competition of a poster making from one school to another school has to happen. Essay writing and elocution have to happen. There are deep connections that you make from individuals in other schools and colleges that we are missing. I think students, whenever they get an opportunity, they should be focusing on that and running and not worry about their marks and all. I think we are too obsessive about the marks that we are going to score in the classroom, because it's not just their fault, it is the way the ecosystem has been built. But at least now if we can break the mold and we go out and position ourselves as outward looking student, outward thinking student, I think we would have developed a lot more of skill for ourselves and be ready for the higher education that is waiting to actually benefit you and take you forward.